Tarkir has got to be one of the most iconic and influential planes in all of Magic, from introducing the clan names that we still use to this day for 3-color combinations to quite literally resetting the game's timeline. It had massive implications for both the game and its story. But when it comes to Tarkir, everything starts with the spirit dragon, Ugin. After a brutal battle with his brother Nicol Bolas on the meditation plane, Ugin found his way to the half-born plane of Tarkir. He saw the potential of this world and wanted to bring it out to the best of his ability. He created the creatures that covered the plane and filled its waters, but more importantly, as he beat his wings, a massive tempest emerged in the sky that birthed Tarkir's dragons. However, the dragons were not the only force of power on Tarkir. There were also 5 clans which fought tooth and nail for their ways of life. This included the Mardu Horde, the Abzan Houses, the Jeskai Way, the Temur Frontier, and the Sultai Brood. To really understand the state of Tarkir, we first need to know who its people were and how they interacted with the plane around them.
The Mardu charge reflects the dragon's speed and its hunger.
The Mardu Horde, represented by red, white, and black mana, is a relentless and battle-hardened clan that thrives in the harsh, rocky wastes of Tarkir. They live for the thrill of combat, seeing war as both a necessity and a way of life. Their primary encampment is perched atop towering cliffs, marking the site where an ancient dragon once fell, a fitting symbol for their warrior spirit. The Mardu are infamous for their brutal raids against rival clans, striking with a deadly combination of lightning magic and masterful archery. By spreading across the plane in their endless conquests, the Mardu were culling young dragons before they could grow into an uncontrollable threat. Life in the Mardu Horde was one of constant motion and survival. The barren lands they inhabited offered very little in terms of resources, forcing them to sustain themselves through relentless raiding. Despite their chaotic and aggressive nature, the Mardu follow a strict warrior code known as the Edicts of Ilagra, a set of laws inscribed on dragonhide scrolls that define their values of honor and combat. Among the most sacred of these edicts are these: to conquer is to eat, to rule is to bleed, and most importantly, victory or death. These laws shaped every aspect of Mardu life, ensuring that strength and perseverance are the cornerstones of their society.
We are the voice of the untethered and lost ancestors, the memory of the Abzan. We guide those that yet live.
The Abzan Houses, based on white, black, and green mana, are a resilient and disciplined people forged by the unforgiving desert plains of Tarkir. Their warriors fight in tightly coordinated units, embodying endurance and unwavering loyalty. Unlike the other clans who thrive on war and conquest, the Abzan prioritize stability and protection, ensuring that vital trade routes remain open between the clans. To many, the Abzan were considered guardians of peace, ensuring order amidst Tarkir's constant conflict. Life in the Abzan is built around the concept of family, which they see as the foundation of survival in the harsh desert environment. Every aspect of their society revolves around loyalty, duty, and kinship, with an unshakable belief that a strong family is the key to endurance. Addressing another clan member as sister or brother is a mark of deep respect, while disowning is amongst the gravest punishments imaginable. When someone is cast out, both parties perform a solemn ritual where their blood is thrown into a fire, severing all ties. These outcasts become pariahs, leaving them to carve out their own fate as mercenaries, wanderers, or exiles. However, their punishment doesn't end in life. Without a family, their spirits are denied rest, becoming malevolent and restless in death. The kin tree is the heart of every Abzan family, a sacred tree where their ancestors were buried and where they can carve their names onto its bark. Firstborn children, known as tree wardens, are responsible for tending to this living memorial, ensuring that their lineage remains strong. Meanwhile, younger siblings are free to pursue their own path, and when they establish their own families, they plant new kin trees, continuing the cycle. Even the spirits of the dead remain connected to the living, and the Abzan have learned to call upon their ancestors to ask for guidance and protection. To strengthen this bond, they consume resin, sap, or amber from their kin trees, deepening the connection to those who came before them. Despite their rigid family structure, the Abzan are pretty open to adoption, not only within their own people, but also among outsiders. After battle, they often take in orphans from enemy clans, raising them as their own. These adopted warriors are treated as full members of Abzan society, with many orcs even joining their ranks in this way. This practice ensures that the Abzan continue to grow in strength even after devastating conflicts, despite battle not being at the heart of their civilization like with many of the other clans. However, while the Abzan do embrace adoption, they still remain deeply distrustful of outsiders. Although the Abzan houses appear to be unified, their political landscape is a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and power struggles. While things within the family can be very strong, different families constantly maneuver for influence, forming temporary alliances while working to weaken their competitors. However, all Abzan understand one undeniable truth: disunity is a death sentence. To survive, they must remain strong, and above all, they must remain together.
The way tells us we must strive towards unity of mind. Through shared understanding, we may yet put an end to strife on Tarkir.
The Jeskai Way, wielding blue, red, and white mana, are a clan of disciplined martial artists, wise mystics, and thoughtful monks who dedicate themselves to the pursuit of enlightenment. Unlike the more war-driven clans of Tarkir, the Jeskai emphasize strategy, intellect, and precision, carefully planning their battles from remote mountain monasteries shrouded in the mist. Their warriors are as much scholars as they are fighters, blending physical prowess with deep philosophical insight. Scattered amongst the rugged highlands, each Jeskai stronghold serves as a sanctuary of learning, where different mystical traditions and combat styles are refined over generations. The Jeskai hold a unique and profound understanding of reality, believing that the world is governed by unseen forces that only they can truly comprehend. Their teachings, influenced by the dragon spirit Ugin, revolve around the 6 fires of enlightenment, a mystical path that guides them towards ultimate wisdom. These fires represent different aspects of their existence. White soul fire, the fire of purity, discipline, and self-perfection. Red blood fire, the fire of passion, emotion, and raw energy. Blue mist fire, the fire of intellect, illusion, and adaptability. Black death fire, the fire of destruction, mortality, and forbidden knowledge. Green vital fire, the fire of life, instinct, and primal energy. And finally, colorless ghost fire, the transcendent flame that lies beyond all others, representing true enlightenment. While vital and death fire are considered to be dangerous and forbidden to the Jeskai, mastery of the first 3 forms is believed to lead to an awakening, allowing a monk to finally grasp ghost fire, a mystical force that transcends color and form. This secret knowledge passed down from Ugin himself sets the Jeskai apart from the other clans, reinforcing their belief that they alone hold the key to understanding the true nature of existence. Under the guidance of Shu Yun, the Jeskai saw itself as Tarkir's memory, a group tasked with preserving knowledge of the plane's past. While others sought power through war and conquest, the Jeskai pursued wisdom, insight, and self-mastery, ensuring that the knowledge of generations would never be lost to time. Through their disciplined ways, they seek not only victory over their foes, but enlightenment beyond the physical world itself.
The Temur believe 3 things only are needed in life: a hot fire, a full belly, and a strong companion.
The Temur Frontier, aligned with green, blue, and red mana, are a fierce and tenacious people shaped by the unforgiving Arctic wilderness of Tarkir. They make their homes in the Kalsisma Mountains, where survival is a constant struggle against the elements. Unlike the structured society of other clans, the Temur live as nomadic hunters, crafting their shelters from the bones of fallen dragons as a testament to their resilience. To outsiders, they may seem wild and untamed, but their way of life is dictated by necessity. Strength, adaptability, and ferocity are their only means of survival. In battle, they fight like the wild beasts that they hunt, using instinct and raw power to overcome their foes. While the Temur don't seek out conflict as readily as the Mardu, they are fiercely protective of their land and will not hesitate to strike down any who threaten their way of life. The Temur are deeply communal, valuing family bonds above all else. Each family group, known as a clutch, is tightly knit, with loyalty to one's kin taking precedence over allegiance to the broader clan. However, all families recognize themselves as siblings in the greater Temur community, offering aid and protection when needed. At the head of the clan stands the first father or first mother, who is seen as the parent of all families and commands the same respect as a blood relative. Despite this, true leadership in the Temur is not solely hereditary. Strength and skill dictate authority. The title of Dragonclaw is given to the clan's most powerful warrior, and as such they become a living symbol of the Temur's ferocity. Sometimes a single individual may hold both positions, embodying both the wisdom of a parent and the might of a champion. Among the Temur, every adult is a warrior, trained in the way of combat from childhood. The Temur see combat as an extension of survival. To fight is to live, and to live is to fight. Yet strength is not the only virtue that they revere. Wisdom and spiritual insight hold a sacred place in their culture. The clan's shamans, known as Whisperers, serve as living links to their ancestors, who they believe are frozen in time, watching over them from beyond. These mystics understand the ebb and flow of fate, their visions offering guidance in both war and daily survival. This sacred art of whispering, the ability to commune with time and memory, was passed down from Ugin, whose teachings continue to shape the Temur understanding of the world.
So long as death follows life, the supply lines of the Sultai will never be cut.
And finally, the Sultai Brood, connected to black, green, and blue mana, is a clan of ruthless ambition and opulent decadence, ruling from ancient palaces nestled within Tarkir's steaming jungles. Unlike the other clans whose power is built on martial strength or spiritual discipline, the Sultai draw their power from necromancy, dark bargains, and manipulation. While they are seen as tyrants, slavers, and deceivers, their methods ensure survival in a world of ceaseless conflict. And despite their less-than-ethical methods, they are often seen as wardens against the nameless horrors that lurk in the jungles of Tarkir. The Sultai's power is built upon a pact with the Rakshasa, demonic feline beings who granted them forbidden knowledge of necromancy in exchange for unspeakable debts. These warlocks and sorcerers command legions of the dead, turning fallen warriors into mindless servants and ensuring that even death offers no escape from their rule. Yet, while many fear the Sultai's undead armies, it is their political cunning that makes them truly dangerous. Every alliance they form is laced with hidden debts, and every gift they offer demands repayment in ways few can foresee. To cross the Sultai is to invite ruin, not through direct battle, but through poison, deception, and shadows that haunt you around every corner. The Sultai Brood is a kingdom of excess and terror, where wealth flows like water, but only for those cunning enough to seize it. Gold, slaves, and secrets are their weapons, and they do not fight battles like the other clans do. Instead, they orchestrate wars from the shadows, ensuring that when the dust settles, it is the Sultai who remain standing, smiling from their jungle palaces as their enemies crumble into ruin. These 5 clans lived in constant war against Tarkir's dragons. That is, until Nicol, Bolas got involved. I have a whole video on the history of Bolas and Ugin, which you can check out for more detail on this. However, put simply, Bolas manipulated Yasova Dragonclaw, feeding her a false vision of a future where Tarkir was free of dragons, a time where the Temur would no longer need to live in fear of the beasts and instead could rule the plane themselves. Bolas told her that he only wished to destroy his brother and his hordes, and in that they could be allies. However, he needed her power. Yasova had the ability to manipulate wild beasts, and with her at his side, Bolas could challenge Ugin without the fear of losing. Just as he had in their first confrontation, Bolas held the advantage when they fought. He pushed his brother back into a corner and forced Ugin to unleash a deafening roar which summoned all of Tarkir's dragons to assist him. But while Ugin had this army, Bolas had Yasova. With all these dragons gathered and ready to attack, Yasova sent a command into their minds, simply saying to kill Ugin. His creations turned against him and left Ugin vulnerable, and using this opening, Bolas attacked one final time, sending his brother crashing to the ground and leaving behind a massive chasm. Once again, Bolas had won, and in doing so he changed not only the fate of Tarkir, but of the entire multiverse forever. Tarkir was directly connected to Ugin's life force, and when he died, the dragon tempest faded along with him. This meant that no more dragons were being birthed onto the plane, and over the following centuries, those that remained were hunted down and killed one by the clans. Without the dragons ruling over Tarkir, the clans rushed to claim territory for themselves. many of whom even went so far as to embrace draconic magic to empower themselves. And that brings us to Sarkhan Vol.
The people of Tarkir speak of an ancient legend, of the dragon man called Sarkhan, who was the greatest of all Khans.
Sarkhan began his life as a Mardu warrior with a talent for battle that allowed him to rise quickly through the ranks of the Horde. He even became a general. Yet, despite his success, he was constantly seeking a higher purpose. Eventually, he abandoned the battlefield and ventured into the Kal-Seisma Mountains, where he joined the Whisperers. At first, he embraced their teachings, but disillusionment set in when he realized that they were worshipping creatures that had long been extinct. With no dragons left on Tarkir, what was the point in showing them respect? Completely disheartened, he returned to the Mardu, and his Khan, Zergo Helmsmasher, assigned him to a mission against the Sultai Brood. Sarkhan found himself locked in combat with the Sultai commander, but as he struck the killing blow, he was suddenly overcome by a powerful vision of an ancient dragon spirit. Overwhelmed by this experience, he sacrificed his own soldiers and unleashed a devastating surge of magic that obliterated the battlefield. The immense power of the dragon spirit coursed through him, igniting his planeswalker spark. From that moment, Sarkhan was no longer bound to Tarkir and could freely travel the multiverse. Sarkhan spent years wandering different planes and found his way to Alara, where he swore allegiance to Nicol Bolas in exchange for powerful dragon magic, allowing Sarkhan to assume a draconic form at will. With these new abilities, he could become the very being that he had worshipped on Tarkir. But despite gaining immense power, something inside him remained unsatisfied. His admiration for dragons stemmed from their uncompromising freedom, yet now he had chained himself to the will of someone else. Though Bolas never truly acknowledged him, Sarkhan continued to serve, hoping that in time he could find his place in the Elder Dragon's grand scheme. Sarkhan witnessed firsthand how the merging of Alara's 5 shards caused chaos across the world and ultimately allowed Bolas to regain his full strength. As this occurred, Bolas's mere presence nearly shattered Sarkhan's mind. The weight of his failures combined with years of servitude left him mentally unstable. He began to hear whispers in his mind, some of them from Ugin, but others from his own subconscious, manifesting in voices that constantly taunted and mocked him. He no longer knew what was real and what he was just imagining. All he knew is that he couldn't escape these thoughts. Lost and desperate, Sarkhan returned to Tarkir. However, what he found only deepened his despair. Tarkir was not the land that he dreamed of and remembered. The plane was a wasteland of endless warfare. Dragons had gone extinct, their bones littered the battlefield like monuments to a forgotten age. Seeing this, the whispers in his head grew louder, guiding him to an ancient place of power, the Eye of Ugin on Zendikar. This mysterious chamber tied to both the Spirit Dragon and the ancient Eldrazi Titans. At the Eye, Sarkhan encountered Chandra Nalaar and Jace Beleren, 2 fellow planeswalkers, and together they unknowingly triggered a series of events that unsealed the Eldrazi, unleashing horrors upon Zendikar. Sarkhan's mind continued to unravel, and his only guiding light was the growing certainty that Ugin held all the answers that he so desperately wanted. But soon he learned the truth. Not only did Ugin not hold these answers, but he had been killed centuries ago by Bolas, an event that led to the extinction of the dragons he once worshipped on Tarkir. Without Ugin, the mystical Dragonstorms which once gave birth to those new dragons had ceased. The realization horrified him. The master that he had been serving had been responsible for the very thing he had spent his entire life searching for. And so, determined to undo this tragedy, Sarkhan made an alliance with Narset, and with her help, he managed to enter Ugin's Nexus and travel back in time. Arriving centuries in the past, Sarkhan found a Tarkir still flourishing with dragons. He encountered Yasova Dragonclaw and realized that she was being manipulated by Bolas much in the same way that he had been. Desperate to intervene, Sarkhan followed her to the site where Ugin was fated to die. As he arrived, the sky tore open. Bolas had arrived, and all Sarkhan could do was watch from afar as the 2 ancient dragons faced each other. And ultimately, just as he had been in the original timeline, Ugin was defeated. Sarkhan rushed to the great dragon and found him dying and broken, his massive body shattered by Bolas. Seeing this, Sarkhan begged Ugin to tell him what he needed to do to fix things, and with the last of his energy, the dragon gave him one final message, saying, "You will always fail so long as you seek guidance instead of truth." In that moment, Sarkhan realized that he couldn't rely on gods or dragons or masters to define his purpose. He had to act on his own accord. Thinking quickly, he activated the Hedron which he had carried with him from Zendikar, forming a protective cocoon around the dragon. The magic within stabilized Ugin's form, ensuring that he would survive and slowly heal over time. And in saving this one singular life, Sarkhan rewrote history. With Ugin alive, the Dragonstorm never vanished, and Tarkir's future changed forever. Instead of humanoid warlords ruling the plains, dragons now dominated the land, shaping its destiny. The clans still existed, but they served under the rule of powerful dragonlords and took on the names of those dragons to show respect to them. As the timeline reshaped itself, Sarkhan vanished. The past version of himself, who had once lived in a world without dragons, ceased to exist. But though he had been erased from his original reality, he re-emerged in the new Tarkir, free of Bolas' influence and of the maddening whispers that had plagued him. He was no longer a pawn, no longer lost, and he had finally found what he had been searching for all along, a world where dragons still soared in the skies. Though Sarkhan's own legend faded into myth, his deeds were remembered by the Temur shamans, who told the tale of the Dragon Man, the Sky Khan who came to save Ugin before disappearing into the unwritten now.
Dragons, in the skies of Tarkir, for the first time, it feels like my home.
With the survival of the dragons, Tarkir's future was monumentally changed. Most importantly, 5 Dragonlords and their brood took over the plane and claimed dominance over the clans. In response, the once powerful khans of those clans were forced with a choice: submit or be destroyed. Dagatar, the leader of Abzan House, whose name I almost certainly mispronounced, was the first to surrender. To demonstrate his submission to the Dragonlord Dromoka, he shattered his sacred mace, an artifact containing the spirits of his ancestors. This symbolic act severed the clan's ties to their past, proving their loyalty to their new ruler. The Abzan even went further, uprooting nearly all of their revered ancestor trees, and fully abandoned their old traditions in the process. In return, Dromoka granted them her favor, allowing the former Abzan to unite under her rule and take on a new identity as her devoted followers. Next was Shu Yun, the master of the Jeskai Way. During a meeting with the remaining khans, Dragonlord Ojutai demanded that every warrior who had slain a dragon, including Shu Yun, be put to death as the price for peace. Knowing that resistance was futile, Shu Yun accepted his fate, allowing Ojutai to personally end his life. With his death, the Jeskai abandoned their former ways and became disciples of their new dragon master. In the Temur Frontier, Yasova Dragonclaw understood that Atarka cared for nothing but the thrill of the hunt and the consumption of prey. Realizing that direct defiance would only lead to their destruction, she devised a way to appease the gluttonous dragon. By offering a continuous supply of hunted beasts as tribute, she ensured that Atarka remained satisfied. As long as the people of the mountains provided her with food, she allowed them to share in her might and secured their survival under her brutal rule. For Alesha, Khan of the Mardu Horde, submission came in a different form, though. She observed that Kolaghan cared for only one thing: racing across the skies at exhilarating speeds. Understanding her Dragonlord's nature, Alesha commanded her people to follow in Kolaghan's wake, embracing the unrelenting charge that had always defined the Mardu. Together, they became a storm of warriors racing across the plains in a never-ending pursuit of their Dragonlord. And finally, unlike the other khans, Tassiger, the ruler of the Sultai Brood, refused to kneel to the dragons. His arrogance and ambitions blinded him to the inevitable, and for his defiance, Silumgar killed him and took his corpse as a trophy, turning him into nothing but a necklace that could be worn to show others the fate of those who oppose the dragons. With the fall of the khans, the era of the Dragonlords had truly begun, but the clans ultimately refused to live under the claws of the Dragonlords for long, and so they eventually gathered and cast a spell to harness spirit dragons to help them regain their freedom. However, the dragon threat is now extending far beyond just Tarkir, as Dragonstorms are opening all over the multiverse. But even more dangerous than that, Nicol Bolas has finally been released from his prison in the meditation plane and is preparing to regain his former glory.
Let the Dragonstorms rage. Let what seeks sustenance feed. Let Tarkir be what it was always meant to be.
But that brings us to the modern day and Tarkir Dragonstorm. Again though, if you'd like to learn more about Bolas and how he got sealed away in the first place, check out my video on his story in the end screen, the cards, or in the description. Or maybe check out this commander deck I just posted that has over 100 unique tokens if you're looking for something a bit more silly and fun. Or if you're looking for someone who actually knows how to build some of the craziest decks that the commander format has ever seen, check out Quips&Guac. He did me a huge favor by helping out with the transition voiceovers for this video, and I am confident you will love his channel. His comedic masterpiece deck from earlier this week, or his drunk driving deck are huge recommendations. Check them out in the description down below. As always though, I want to thank our patrons Laetus, Casino, Damon Brantley, and our newest supporter, Jacob Oakes. If you want to support more content like this, like they are, check out the link in the description, or consider becoming a member here on YouTube. With that said, thank you all so much for watching, but I am officially out of mana, so I will have to see you in the next one.